This is a story that happened when I was 7 years old, and now, when I look back at it, it makes me confused. Cause I can't tell if it was real or just a lucid dream created by a strong flu I had at the time. But deep down, I know it was all real. During my childhood, my family was like a drop of water in a vast river, never remaining in one location for long. We settled in Rhode Island when I was 8, and there we remained until I went to college in Colorado Springs. Most of my memories are rooted in Rhode Island, but there are fragments in the attic of my brain which belongs to various homes we had lived in when I was much younger. We have moved to a big house around the metropolis of Vineyard. It was quite a large house for just a family of 3, to say the least. Even after 5 months living there was 2 rooms I haven't even explored yet. During a week later, in my 7th birthday, which no one came, I catch a high flu and fever. The doctor said I should not do any extreme thing like run or play, and that I'd have a fever for at least 3 weeks. It was a horrible time to stay on bed, since it was summer. My mother would constantly bring me snacks, soda, and even some old books as form of entertainment. Worse than tiring, it was extremely boring. That's when he appeared. He presented himself as Mr. Widemouth because he had a wide mouth. Actually, everything in him was wide. His mouth, his ears, and the rest.
Wow, you look like a Furby.
I said that while he was looking at one of my books. He looked at me curiously and said,
A Furby? Well, what is a Furby exactly?
You know, like those toys that you take care of like a real pet.
Ah, well, you don't need those things. They are not as good as having real friends.
Speaking of it, I now remember Mr. Widemouth disappearing whenever my mom came to check on me. I asked him why he was doing that.
I was hiding under your bed. I don't want your parents to see me. Otherwise, they won't let us play again.
We didn't really do much for a few days. Mr. Widemouth just kept looking at my books, intrigued by the pictures and drawings in them. The next day, he came in with a wide smile on his face and said,
I know a new game that we can play. We'll have to wait until your mom comes to check on you though, because she cannot see us playing this game. It is a secret game.
After my mom came to give me snacks and soda, he returned from under the bed and pulled my arm.
We need to go to the room at the end of the hallway.
I followed him to the empty room, which had nothing inside, only a big window at the end of it. Mr. Widemouth pushed it open with his tiny arms and called me to look at the ground. We were in the 2nd floor of the house, but it was over a hill, and the fall would be huge due to the angle.
Let's play pretend. I like to pretend there is a huge and soft trampoline at the end, and if you pretend hard enough, you bounce back up. I'd like to see you try.
Though I was 7 years old, a bit of realism passed through my mind. And though I was considering the possibility, there was no way I would actually do bounce back up. So I said,
No, let's leave that for another time. I'm not up for it.
His face turned into an angry one, and he made a slight roar, but only for a second. Then his expression changed. Instead of angry, now he was just disappointed.
Well, it is your choice, but you don't know what you're missing.
He said while looking down. He spent the rest of the day under my bed, without coming out, quiet like a little rodent. In the next day, Mr. Widemouth came with a little box.
I'd like to teach you juggling. Here are some things you can use to practice before I give you the lessons.
I looked, and it was full of sharp knives.
No. My parents would kill me. They'd crown me for a year for sure.
I said to him. He frowned.
Ah, but it's so fun to make juggling with this. You should try.
I pushed the box away.
No. I can't. Knives aren't safe to be thrown in the air.
He made another disappointed look and got back under the bed for the rest of the day, bringing the knife box with him. I started to think how often he was under my bed, and I started having trouble going to sleep after that thought. He'd constantly wake me up, saying he had put a real trampoline under the window, and that I just couldn't see because it was dark out, and that I should try. I'd always deny and tried to go back to sleep, but Mr. Widemouth was persistent. Sometimes he would even be at my side, encouraging me to jump. He wasn't much fun to play anymore. My mom came into my room the next day and said that I'm allowed to go outside for a little walk. She thought some fresh air would be good for me, especially after being locked up in my room for so long. Excited, I ran straight to the front door, happy to finally feel the wind and the sun on my skin. Mr. Widemouth was waiting for me.
I want to show you something. It is safe, I promise.
I followed him until we reached the start of a trail in the forest.
This is an important path. I have many friends of your age. When they are ready, I take them on this path to a special place. You are not ready yet, but one day, I hope you will be.
I came back home, asking myself where that path would take me to. 2 weeks later, our stuff was already packed up, and my dad was waiting for me in his truck. I'd be at his side on the cabin, during the long road to our next home. I considered telling Mr. Widemouth that I would be moving, but though I was 7 years old, I knew he was up to no good and had ill intentions. So due to that, I decided to keep that only for myself. The truck started and we were in the road with the truck filled with furniture and boxes. I looked through the window and saw Mr. Widemouth at the window of my bedroom. He was standing still, with no emotion in his face, until we reached the main highway. He waved at me with his tiny hand, while holding a knife. I didn't wave back. "15 years later, I returned to New Vine. The small part of the land where my house used to be was empty, except for some burned structures, because few months later, after we moved, the house was caught on fire. For curiosity, I followed the path on the woods that Mr. Widemouth had shown me when I was just 7 years old. Part of me was expecting him to jump out and scare me or something, but I felt like he was gone. And for some reason, he took the house with him, which didn't exist anymore. The path ended in the cemetery of New Vineyard, and I noticed that most of the tombs were from children.